This is Lightroom for completely beginners, a series of classes where you will learn how to professionally edit your photos in Lightroom Classic 2024 to start making money with portraits or charge more for your services. If you're new here, I am Silvia, specialist in the magazine style of maternity photography. My goal is to help you improve your retouching skills for you to make more money with photos. Now let's get into the video. Masking is something you must know. It is something you really need to understand and kind of master. This is something more advanced in Lightroom, and not a lot of beginner photographers use this tool. But it is important for you to understand how to use this tool, because for some more advanced techniques that we will do later here in this course, you will need to understand the masking system. Also, it is something very important to understand because it's something that you will be doing a lot of that in Photoshop. Don't worry though, because you're going to see that masking is something very simple actually, and easy to understand and easy to do. Now let's talk about masking. As we did it before in the previous class, we were working with radial gradient and the linear gradient. There are different kinds of masking that you can do in your photo. The place that you are going to find the masking is by being on the develop tab and by clicking here in the circle. We have done the some maskings before with the linear gradient and the radial gradient, so everything that we did in the last class is right here. And now we can do some other kinds of masking. And just like the previous video, masking is more about you changing something in the photo. So let's say I want to make her hair to be a little bit lighter. So you want to bring more light to her hair, but you only want to apply the effect on her hair. So masking is more about showing the place where you want to apply an adjustment and hiding from the other places that you do not want to apply the adjustment. The thing is that linear gradient and the radial gradient is something that's a little bit faster and easier to do, I would say. But let's say that you want to do something even more punctual, in a place that it's even more specific. So let's go back to the example of the hair. Let's say they want to make her hair a little bit lighter. It might be a little bit harder to do with the radial gradient or with the linear gradient. So Lightroom has these other kinds of masking tools that you can use. I'm gonna click here, create new mask, and you're going to see that we have many ways to create a mask. We have select subject. So if I click here, Lightroom is already reading what it is the main subject of your photo, and right now for us it is the client. So Lightroom already create a really good selection for me, and it's way different from the radial circle gradient that we have of masking or the linear gradient. It's something that it needs a little bit more details. Let's say it like that. So if I want to do something with my model, let's say, I think that she's too dark and I want to bring more light to my model, I can just move around here and the effect will be applied only where it was gray. So let me see here, show overlay, and you can see that it's only being applied to where the selection is. So you can now be way more punctual and specific in where you want to do the correction. Okay, so let me delete this mask. Delete mask 4. Another way that you can create a mask is selecting the sky. We do not have the sky here, so no sky detected because we don't have a sky here. But if you're taking photos in the landscape, in the outside, outdoors, and you have a sky, you can just select the sky. Sometimes the sky is a little bit too bright to the photo compared to the client, to the model. So you might just want to select the sky and make it darker a little bit. So this is a pretty easy way that you can do this. Lightroom is already doing all the work for you. You can select the background. The background will be everything that's not your subject. So if I click here, you're going to see that when we select the subject, The subject was her, and also got a little bit of the background. And now when you're selecting the background is actually just the opposite of the subject is. One thing that you can do with this mask as well, just like how we did it in the radial gradient, is by clicking here invert, and it's going to invert. Now we have the subject selected. So let's go and delete. We can do that the same thing when you select the subject. If you wanted to invert the selection, you're gonna select the background. But Lightroom already has the option for you to just go straight to the selection that you want to. Let's delete this mask. And now you have more other ways of how you can create a mask. If you select here, select people, you're gonna see that Lightroom is going to recognize as many people as you have in the photo. So let's go to this other photo here that we have a couple. And being on mask here, Lightroom already knows that you have two different people here. So you have the person number 1 and the person number 2. So if you just want to change something on the person number 2, you can just select person number 2. And one cool thing that Lightroom will do here for you is if you want to just change or apply the adjustment to the whole selection how it is right now, you can see that the selection is not perfect, by the way, because if you look here to the hand, it's not selected all the way here. So you might need to adjust sometimes the selection, but that's okay. We can see how to do that in a second. So let me go back here to fit. So one cool thing that Lightroom will do as well is that you can select the entire person, or Lightroom already did different selections for you as well to help you to have a faster process of on your workflow of editing. So instead of selecting the entire person, let's say that I just want to select his face. So I can click here, facial skin, and Lightroom will select only his face. And what is cool about it is that Lightroom actually tried to select only the skin. It's not very good, it's not perfect, but it is something that it will help you to be faster, right? So you just need to remove a little bit of the eye here, a little bit more maybe of the eyebrow, and whatever it is that you don't want in the selection, you can just remove or add something. And for that, you can also combine the linear gradient and the radial gradient, where you can delete something that it's going to your photo as well. And I'm gonna show you that in a second as well. But you can do different selections here. So you can do facial skin, body skin. So it's gonna do everything that it's his body. You can select not the facial skin and just have body skin. So you can combo all of them. So for example, let's say that I want a facial skin, but I also want the eyebrow and the eyes. So you can just make any selection that you want. And then when you're satisfied, let's say that I want to do the facial, the eyebrow, the eye, the eye here, the lips, the hair. Let's say that I want to do the hair as well. And you can see that the selection is not very good because it's grabbing her hair, but it doesn't matter for us right now. And let's say that I'm done with the selection. So I'm gonna click here, create mask. And now I can just play around with the adjustment, and you're going to see that's only gonna be applied to where the selection is. Okay. Let's not make it creepy though. Let's delete this mask. And let's go back to our photo. Now let's see other kinds of selections that we have. One that I use a lot is the brush, and the brush is the best way for you to do exactly what you want, where you want. So the brush is by you painting whatever it is that you want the selection to be. So you can be very, very specific in the point that you want the adjustment. Let's say that I want, let me do a different selection here. Wait, brush. Let's say that I want to do something on her clothes, but just in this part of the clothes. It doesn't matter. And let's make it lighter. You can see that it's only being applied to the selection that I made. Okay, perfect. Um, so let's say that I want to do her clothes, her outfit is actually, let's do the opposite. Let's say that I want to make it darker. So I can get closer to the photo and actually just paint. But let's say like I painted more than what I wanted to do. So what I can do is click on the mask, on the layer where I have the selection done. And then I can add an area or subtract an area. So in our case here, I painted more than what I should. So I can go here, subtract. I can also choose any kind of selection that I can create with Lightroom, but I'm gonna select brush because I wanna be precise. And then here, I can just remove where the effect is not supposed to go. So I know that I got a little bit on her hair as well. And then, and by doing this, you can be very, very precise in where you want to apply or remove an effect. So if you take a look here, we have brush 1 and brush 2. The brush 2 is a brush that we are using to remove the effect. And now I want to go back to adding the mask. So I'm going to click here, brush 1, and I'm going to keep painting where I think that I want to apply the effect. So I'm just going to go to her clothes. I want to make it very dark. Until here. Let's say that I don't want to go to the bottom. I just want to do until here. I noticed that I got a little bit of her belly, so I can go back here to brush 2 and just remove where I got on her skin. Another thing that you can do is with the brush, if I go up here, we have some adjustment for the brush. So we have the size of the brush. We can make it bigger. We can make it smaller. So for here, for example, I can do something smaller to make sure that I'm only removing the selection on her belly and not on her outfit. Another thing that we can do, let me make it bigger, is work with the feather. So the feather is the same thing that we have seen before with the radial gradient. So let me go back to adding the effect. If I go, let me come here, and I have the feather 100%, it means that the transition is gonna be fading slowly and it's less visible. We don't have a hard transition, it's more a smooth transition. So if I go here, you can see that it's fading a little bit of the effect. If I had feather to 0 and I go here, you're going to see that there is no fading on the transition. It is just a very harsh line between the effect and no effect. One thing that we can do is go back to brush 2, and now we can just clean this up and delete this. Perfect. Another thing that we can do, let me go back to brush 1, that it's adding the effect. By the way, you can just rename the layer as well of the mask. So adding effect, okay, and here's removing effect. Perfect. So just now it's easier for us to understand what we're doing. Another thing that we can do is with the flow, and flow is the intensity of the brush, the intensity of the effects that you want to do with the brush. If we have a flow 1, you're going to see that you don't see very well. I'm doing the effects here, but you don't see very well. I'm doing many times, and you're slowly starting to see here the effect. So here's the before and after. Now, if I go with the flow 100%, you're going to see that it's gonna come here with 100%. Now let's go back here to her outfit. Let's go to fit. Now we can see what we have done here. So this is before and after. So I use this effect here just to paint this area here, and this is being really good. Another thing is if we show the overlay, we can see everything that we have added, and we can even make it better because we can see that I didn't paint it all the way. So I'm gonna go down with the size, 100% with the feather. And I'm just gonna paint a little bit more here, just make a little bit better selection. This is good enough for me. And now, just adjust here. Okay, so now let's stop seeing the overlay. And here's the before and after. This is pretty good. One thing that we can do as well, the last video, we created this linear gradient here. That's a kind of mask as well, where we are just wanting to apply the effect kind of more on the wall. However, it ended up getting a little bit on her hand. So what we did was creating another radial gradient to correct the lighting of the hand. But one thing that we can do is when we create this linear gradient, we can also add a little bit more of where we want the effects to be applied, or we can subtract. So in this case, I could have clicked here on subtract, choose the option brush, and actually delete the effect from the hand, from the whole face here. Everywhere that it's affecting the model that I don't want it to affect, I can delete here. And I think I went too much here, so let me go back, and I'm gonna go subtract, brush, and I'm gonna just remove the effect from the model. Now the linear gradient is not gonna be affecting my model. And the cool thing is that I can just drag the effect, change the location of the effect, but the area that I painted her is not gonna be effect. Another thing that we can do is, let's say that I want something that it's more like this, a bigger transition or something like that. However, I don't want my model to be here. I don't need to go with the brush and actually paint the whole model. What we can do is by clicking here, let me delete this this brush that I created here. So delete brush 1. And what we can do is go to subtract, and instead of me selecting the brush and painting the model, I can just click here, select subject, and automatically will select the subject. So when I go here, go back to the linear gradient, I can just move around all the way in everything, and my subject will not be affected. So I can go up with the exposure, and the subject is not being affected. So this is something that you can do. You kind of can combine many masks in one mask. But let me go back here to how it was. Okay, so these are some adjustments that you can do. Now, other ways that you can create a mask as well is with the color range. Color range is by you selecting a color in your photo, and everything that it has that kind of color or tone will be selected. So for example, let's say that I want to select this green color here. So I'm gonna click here on the green. And you can see that everything that's actually green right now is being selected. I can adjust a little bit more of the green selection that I did. I'm not really sure why her outfit, her hair is being selected. Maybe I chose a little bit too dark green, and Lightroom is reading that kind of color at the wall and on my models. So what we can do is by going here, color range, and we have refine. Refine is to make it a little bit bigger selection or a smaller selection. So if I go here and go to the right, I'm trying to say that I want a green, but a little bit more around the tone and the color that I selected. If I go to the opposite direction, I'm saying, hey, I kind of just want that kind of green that I selected. So something a little bit more specific. And what I can do is, let's say that I just wanted to select this part here. I already refined my selection. It's not perfect because it's still getting my model. So I can just go here, subtract. I can use the brush for that. I can go up with the size, and I'm just gonna remove from where I do not want the effect to be applied. And now the green chain here is selected. I can go and change, let's say that I want to change the color. So let me stop visualizing that. Let's say that I want to make it a little bit lighter. And let's say now that I want to change that color, so I can go to hue and just make something different. Let's say that I want something okay, let's say that I want to make something a little bit more brown, like that, because I wanted to match everything in the photo, and I want to be a little bit less saturated. I can remove everything. I don't want to remove everything. I just want less saturated. So right there. So in a simple step, I was able to make a selection of a green color that has nothing to do with my style photo and change the color of only that specific color. So this is something very, very easy for you to do. The other mask that we have is the Luminance Rage. And this is something cool because one is selecting more of the color, and the other one is selecting the luminosity of the photo. So everything that it has the same kind of luminosity will be selected. Let's say that I want to select here on her forehead, that's a little bit lighter. So right now, Lightroom is selecting my highlights of the photo, the parts of the photo that is a little bit lighter, that has the same intensity of light. And this is pretty good because if you think that this is too light, you can go with the luminosity and you can just like go down with the highlights, and you're gonna see that I'm trying to correct the highlights of my photo, so I can just go down a little bit. And now if I see the before and after, I can see that the luminosity of my photo is pretty much very well balanced. It's kind of all the same. Another thing that you can do with the selection to refine the selection is working here. Here we have the range of luminosity that you wanted to do. And remember how before in one of the first classes, we're studying about the histogram. Everything that's on the left is the black parts of my photo, and then we have the shadows, we have the middle tones that it's exposure here for some reason, we have the highlights, and we have the white. So this range here is pretty much the same kind of luminosity range in the histogram. So if we go here, we can see that we can move the selection, and it's pretty much changing of the range of the luminance that you were selecting of the light. So right now I'm selecting the middle tones and the shadows and then the darker size of my photo, but I'm not selecting the black yet. Let me close this a little bit. If you notice here, I can drag this a little bit as well, and this is about the fading transition of the effect that we have. So let's say that the exposure is 100%. So when you move the triangle here, you're changing exactly the part of the luminosity on the photo that you want to change. So right now I'm going back to only highlights and wider parts, and this part here is more about the transition, like how much you want to fade the effect. So let's say that I want to just change the highlight and I want 100% of fading the effect. So I'm gonna go back with the exposure, and I'm just gonna slowly go down with the highlight, but not too much, just a little bit. And this is what we have done before. So just by seeing this one effect here, we can see that now the light again is more balanced. I can create many masks as I want as well. Let's say that now I want to do a luminance rage, but now for the darker areas. So let me click here, and again Lightroom is already selecting the darker areas, and I can just go here to the luminance and adjust my selection. Let's say that I want to do a little bit less. And this time I want to make it a little bit darker. So now I'm creating a little bit of contrast in my photo, right? So here's the before the contrast and after, before and after. And just now I created a little bit of contrast in my photo. I made it some adjustment that's more punctual in the photo. And again, you can just play with masks and filter and just make your whole photo to look better. Here's before and after of all adjustments that we have done so far. It's something that you cannot do if you're going to the basic tab here. It's something that you cannot do. You cannot get to this adjustment here using the general adjustment, because you need to be specific in what you wanted to make it lighter, what you want to make it darker. And we can also correct a little bit of colors as well, something that we haven't talked so far. So for example, let's say here that I want to go to select people. I'm gonna choose my model, and I only want body skin. I'm gonna create a mask, and the only place that I want to work is on her legs. So I'm gonna subtract. Let me make this bigger. I'm gonna subtract. I'm gonna select brush. I am going to reduce the size and just remove. Oops. And I'm just gonna remove the selection here. Okay, and now I'm only gonna work with her legs. And let's say that her leg, it has a very different color from the rest of her skin. So I can just play here a little bit with the hue. And I can remove some saturation, or I can apply some saturation. Because we already worked on the tone of her skin, I think that it's actually good. But I just want to show you that this is another way of how you can correct the color of her skin. So actually, let's do something here. Let's go back to the color mixer. Yeah, let's go back to the color mixer, and let's go back with the red where it was before. Okay, and let's see. This is perfect. So now we're going to use the mask to actually correct the color of her skin. So here we already have our selection, and let's go here to the hue, and let's make a little bit more similar to the color of her belly. So it's something that you're gonna change by something very light correction, and I think that's looking better. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of saturation. Okay, and here's the before and after. Before and after. Before and after. It is way better. Let's get closer so you can see better as well. And let me close this. Okay, so just pay attention to the color between her belly and her legs. So here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. You can see that before it has a lot of like this red color, while her belly doesn't have this redness on her skin. And after, now after we have corrected a little bit more of the red color, and it's matching better her color on her belly. So this is something that we can do as well. And let me go back and let's see all the masks together. Now this is the before. Let me close here. And here's the before, here's the after, before and after. If you want to do, for example, let's say that I want to do her whole outfit black. I can go here to add, and I can select people. And I need to see here. So when I click to select people, Lightroom's gonna recognize my model, so I'm gonna click here, and instead of selecting entire person, I'm gonna do close. But I need to still make some adjustment here on the close because I'm gonna click subtract brush. It's selecting a little bit of her hair. Okay, that was too much. So I just want to remove from her hair. And I want the whole effect. Let me see. Oh my gosh, it didn't create the mask. Okay, let's go again. Add, select people. I'm gonna choose her and I'm gonna choose close. Create mask. There we go. And now let me delete this this brush that I created before. And now you can see that the whole effect is being applied to her outfit. But I can see that it's going a little bit more than what I want. So I'm gonna create a subtract. Actually, I already have one removing effect. I'm gonna go upper the clothes and I'm gonna just remove here from her hair. And we can see, we can click here, person one, clothes, and we can do show overlay and we can see what else we need to remove. For example, there is a little bit here on the shadow, so I can go here to remove effect and actually just to remove this part here because I think that it's not the outfit. Let me actually make sure. So let's get closer. Yeah, I think it is just shadows, or maybe it is the outfit. I'm not even 100% sure right now. But it doesn't matter. I just want you to understand the process of things that you can do. And then let's see the before and after now. So here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. I can see that it's getting a little bit on her skin here as well. So let me just fix this part. So before and after. And it's getting on her tattoo, so we can just clean this area before and after. There we go. And this is how you can use masks. Now you know how to use Lightroom masks with confidence. You saw that there was nothing that it is too difficult and hard. It's just something that it's actually simple and easy. It takes a little bit more time for you to do it though. In other videos, we are gonna learn, for example, skin retouch, how to enhance the client's makeup, how to do dodge and burn, and all of these techniques and systems, we are gonna be working with masks. So that's why it's very important for you to understand this process of how it works, how masking works. Click the like button if this video was helpful for you. Stay tuned for the next lessons of this course because by the end of it, you will have photos that stand out more. And this is good if you're trying to attract more clients and make more money. Also, subscribe to my channel if you're not yet. And why are you not subscribed yet? New videos come out every week. For now, this is everything. I will see you in the next time.